compromise. He never compromised. But no, first let me talk about the practicality and then we'll talk about the compromise bit. And so he was so practical, like he always, when you heard him talk, it was not some esoteric thing, I can't understand what he's saying, I know he's talking English, but I don't really know what he's saying. And now let's talk about the Srila Prabhupada's always pointing to Krishna. Always. He never took credit. He never came out, because India produces so many spiritual gurus, so many spiritual people, right? And Prabhupada, why did he make a difference? Why did he make a difference in all of your lives? Why did he make a difference in my life? Why did he make a difference in Acharya Dev's life? Is because he really pointed to Krishna. He never took credit. He never said, oh, I'm God, or, whatever nonsense the most popular gurus nowadays spout, or they never talk about God. They always talk about their own importance. But Srila Prabhupada was so always pointing to God, and that's something I always appreciate about him. He's never taking credit. He knows who is the boss. When he's talking, he knows who it is that he has to, who it is that has made him who he was, and I really appreciate that, because what he is doing is he's actually pointing us to God. Whereas most gurus nowadays, I'm not talking about present company exempted, is most gurus nowadays point to themselves, right? They are the be all and end all. I will not mention names because the whole world is watching, so we will not mention names because I might get trolled. But anyway, so and so that's another aspect I really appreciate about Prabhupada, is that he always spoke about Krishna, There was one other thing I was going to say, but never mind. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Shireen. That was more than eloquent. It was just a very beautiful, moving little talk you just did. And I was looking around the room, and I could see that everyone was really appreciating it, because, like every movement kind of thinks like, okay, we get it, other people get it to some extent. And so to see someone from, superficially another movement who really gets it, who like totally understands it, is, I think it was a bit enlightening for all of us here. So, if any of you have any questions, anyone have a question for Shireen?
I just want to say I really appreciate Shireen. I mean, I know you, but you're being you might say a first cousin to us, but not exactly inside what we do, so looking from the outside. You had such great insight into who Prabhupada was. Insight that on Prabhupada's birthday celebration every year is coming up soon. People speak about their appreciations, but rarely does somebody speak with such succinct insight as you just offered us. I really thank you for it.
Oh no, thank you. I feel so honored to be in such exalted company, and I'm not just saying that, I really mean it.
Yeah.
Many times I joke with Acharya Dev, but no, I am being very serious, because I can't see him. So him exempted, all of your exalted. I'm really happy to share this with you. There's one other thing I wanted to talk about Prabhupada, is his singing, his chanting. It's not called singing, no? It's called chanting. I'm so sorry.
No, that's no
when
problem.
he sings, it's not the chanting of the Mahamantra. When he sings that song,
Radha Madhava.
Yeah, Jai Radha Madhava. It's so sublime, so sublime. Many, many times I listen to it and I play it and then I go to sleep on that. It's so sublime the way he sings. Is that called singing? I'm so sorry.
No, no,
Singing's
no,
fine.
no.
Singing's fine.
You have. I think safely say that you can say singing. I don't think anyone in this room is going to sue you.
Okay, thank you for that.
So, please, anyone, Bhadra. Perhaps
It's nice to hear.
maybe you could come forward so Shireen can see you. Bhadra is actually, and then Krishna Abhishek. Maybe I can introduce you a few people. Bhadra is a wonderful.
I can't see you.
Oh,
How do we? It's not your
It's on
face.
that computer.
It's what?
You gotta face that computer towards it.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay, can you?
Oh. Bhadra, Om Shanti. Hare Krishna.
Bhadra is from Gujarat. He organizes Rath Yatra festivals all over Florida, and I thought maybe he could just. I'm sure he found what you said moving also.
It's nice to hear. It's nice to.
Hare Krishna.
It's nice to hear you. It actually helps us to come closer to Srila Prabhupada actually by hearing you. Even though you are not in touch with Srila Prabhupada and you have so much appreciation, and it brings me personally to see more and more how Srila Prabhupada was a great personality. Thank you.
So, anyone else?
You want me to say something?
Yeah, this is Bir Krishna Maharaj, who joined.
Can't see.
Oh, let's
Yeah.
see. Can you?
Ah,
Whoops, that didn't help, did it?
Yeah, she can see me now. She can see me
Yes.
now.
Bir Krishna is my old friend. He joined in Gainesville, and please. He's a guru and a GBC member in our movement and preaches all around the world. So,
Yeah, so one thing about my history, I actually joined in Acharya, was the temple president. And he inspired me. He was one of my inspirations in the beginning. Not now, but I mean, in the beginning. I also have a sense of humor. I also have a sense of humor.
inspiration.
I also have a sense of humor like him, so please forgive me. So, one thing I really appreciated that you said, I appreciated everything, but especially you pointed out that there's these unsung heroes, and those aren't your words, of course, who put their fingers in the dike and they change society in some way because of their own inherent spiritual qualities. And actually, I see that with Prabhupada. That Prabhupada changed the course of history. Many times Prabhupada would talk about an impending war, World War III or something like that. And I can see that the whole world, in spite of Donald Trump, who we all know, the whole world is actually gradually heading towards a spiritual direction. And I really think that it was Prabhupada who started that push or that movement towards a spiritual direction. And the more that we can become faithful to Prabhupada's mission, we can become instrumental in accomplishing and pleasing Prabhupada. So really I appreciated that unsung hero aspect or attribute of Srila Prabhupada that you mentioned. Thank you very much for that. It really inspired me. Not only do I appreciate it, but it inspired me to go on and carry out my service for Srila Prabhupada.
Right.
And I want to mention to Serene that we have really nice guest rooms here, which we expect you to occupy at some time.
You say guest room.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so
I come for the donuts.
the devotee donut store is walking distance from us.
Shireen visited here.
Yeah.
Also, I should say, Shireen, in the spiritual tradition that she helps to lead, that, can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you recognize my voice? Do you know this? So, in the spiritual tradition that Shireen helps to lead, they have very strongly this notion that we are instruments in God's service. In fact, if I can reveal this, Shireen's license plate is Nimit, which means instruments. From the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says Nimitta Matram, so she has the word instrument on her license plate, which I always thought was like, wow, that's amazing. So anyway, thank you so much, Shireen. It's as you can see, you inspired a lot of people, and I'm sure there are many people all around the world listening and who will listen to this. You know, I think often in these types of programs, you know, a majority of people listen a little bit later, but I think you're really helping a lot of people by speaking here, and I thank you for that.
No, thank you for this opportunity. I feel very honored that you would invite me to talk about Prabhupada, because I know how all of you really revere him. And so I really feel honored. And, you know, I always think about Prabhupada because I think what he did and how is it possible for us to do something similar. You know, what changes and what transformation should happen within me that we can do something similar. Of course, no one can replace him, but we can bring about a spiritual revolution. And what is it that I have to do to be able to bring about a spiritual revolution?
Well said. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Shireen. See you soon.
Thanks again, Sri.
Haribol.
Bye.
I've received on the Facebook chat, which I have in front of me, we're live
Can
streaming.
I speak?
Yeah. You're definitely good to go if you like. Sure.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
See you later.
Nice.
Bye.
On the Facebook chat, we've received several requests have come in. Can you please tell a few stories about the early days?
Yes.
So I thought we would at least maybe read a little bit of Ananga's,
Oh yes, of course,
Yeah.
Of course. It's really good.
and so I can satisfy our chat folks, which
Could I just say a word about Ananga first?
That would be wonderful.
So, camera crew, we can't see what's going. Let's see. Is there any way we can click here so I can see on the screen?
Just a moment.
Oh, it is. It's here.
It's on the big one.
It's here. It just have to. It'll be back in a moment.
Let's see. How do we get the big screen in? Oh, good.
Yeah.
You want me to read it?
Yeah. Better read it
Okay. So I would like to. I hope this, no one will, consider this unusual, but when I was a temple president here, I was a grihasta, and I think it's very important that the world understand that Ananga Manjari, Prabhupada's very dear disciple, was one of the main factors, I think, in the success of the Gainesville program. That she did extraordinary devotional service. She is famous as a great preacher. She really is an extraordinary preacher, very empowered, and she has very powerful love for Prabhupada. And she was like the mother of the temple. She, I just went and did, my blah, blah, blah. But actually, she was really, she was really practically like the co-president of the temple. And I know whenever I had to leave Gainesville, she would take charge of the temple. And so unfortunately, she just came down with a little illness, which of course we all pray to Krishna is not too serious. We hope she'll get better very soon. But Ananga Manjari, whatever we accomplished back then would not have been possible without her contribution. So I would like, Brahmatirtha now I believe is going to read. She couldn't come, so I asked her to write something, and she did. He's also an excellent writer. And now Beer Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah,
Yes,
Krishna
he-
Maharaj
he has
read,
to
or
read.
one of the ladies read, whatever you think.
I can read it.
Yeah, go ahead. Beer Krishna Maharaj is going to read.
All right, camera.
What? Here,
He does.
so you can.
So I just want to mention
Camera's off.
a few words before I read Ananga Mandri's text here. My own experience with Ananga Mandri in the early days and corroborate what Rita Ananda Maharaj, or nowadays Acharya Dev, said. Against GBC rules. But anyways, the nomenclature I'm talking about. So I want to corroborate what he said about Ananga Mandri. The temple that I joined in 1971 was like a family. And the interactions between the men and women were like brothers and sisters. I mean, there was no question of discrimination or bodily consciousness. Of course, everybody had their own living situations. But Ananga Mandri sort of made that all of us feel like we were in a family, a Krishna conscious family. It was just a very warm situation. And I'm not going to contrast that with Sri Ananda Maharaj. But he was warm too. I mean, he was nice, believe me. Because he would, just a few nice words about you. I know this is out of character for me. Yeah, it's out of character. Somehow or other, maybe I ate too much prasadam tonight or something. Srinananda Maharaj and Ananga Mandri were always giving us Krishna Katha. I remember wherever we went in the temple, and with Srinananda Maharaj, it was even sometimes in the shower room of the temple, he would be repeating words of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He was memorizing the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, first few chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam at that time. And continually there was a stream of nectar emanating from his mouth. How about that phrase? So, and the same thing with Ananga Mandri. And the brahmacharis felt so, let us say, warm towards both of them that I remember sometimes, you may remember this, that we would actually sometimes go down and talk to both of you and be singing Vaishnava songs to you. Do you remember that? One time we came down and we were singing to you and to Ananga Mandri, and so much appreciation. So oftentimes we talk about, philosophy bringing people to Krishna consciousness, and philosophy is extremely important. As Srinananda Maharaj pointed out a few minutes ago about understanding philosophy and understanding science, I found that the more I study philosophy, the more I can understand Srila Prabhupada's books from a hermeneutical point of view. And the more I study science, the more my faith in Krishna consciousness increases and my ability to present Krishna consciousness. But in any case, what attracts people, in addition to philosophy, science, theology, is a warm and friendly spiritual family atmosphere. And I attribute that to Ananga Mandri's hard work in bringing us up in Krishna consciousness. In one sense, she was the mother of all of us in the temple, so I very much want to appreciate her before I read her particular text. So, this particular text that she wrote, and I'm sorry that I'm not seeing her tonight, is called The Sage in Gainesville. We were excitedly preparing for a big event. Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual guide and guru, was to visit our small Krishna house in Gainesville. I had been studying and practicing his philosophical teachings for the past year, although I had not personally met him yet. The moment was now upon us. Kirtan chanting was going on outside our building with the many devotees and guests who came from other temples to see him. They were eagerly waiting for his arrival from the airport. I knew that when the chanting would suddenly stop, it would mean that his car had finally arrived. I was inside the house doing last-minute touch-ups. I tried to create a spiritual ambience in his quarters by putting flowers everywhere and lighting lots of incense. I just placed a freshly picked magnolia flower on his desk when the chanting suddenly stopped. I rushed down, but as soon as I got near the entrance, He was already on the other side of the old screen door. Seeing him for the first time with the screen between us is a memory etched in my mind. He is such a familiar and endearing part of my life, yet there is so much more to him that I may understand in time as the screen of my limited perceptions fade away. I went down on the ground to offer my respects. As soon as I got up, he was already in our small temple room, looking at our kitty-cornered altar where a raw painting of Panchatattva presided. The artist was our resident dear God, Sister Gayatri, who was the best cook around. As he gazed at the painting with deep love, I saw a golden light emanating from him through a white halo of incense. At first I thought, wait, I didn't light that much incense, did I? Then I realized it was a special gift to get a moment's glimpse of him in that light without the screen between us. He soon was moving towards the great Vyasa that Gandhi had built. It looked like an oversized, gigantic living room chair built for a giant. I had no idea how to upholster it, so we found some navy blue velvet cloth and covered the old clunky wood frame using thumbtacks and Elmer's glue. I pasted flowers where the wood was showing through. Seeming unfazed, he elegantly climbed up and began his speech. It is so nice to see so many young boys and girls in this remote corner of the universe. It is remote because it is so far away from Lord Chaitanya's birthplace. At the time, 1971, Gainesville was quite remote. The closest airport was Jacksonville, so we had to drive an hour and a half after his flight to get here. Here we were, most of us novices in Christian consciousness, but he saw how that unrefined picture of Lord Chaitanya was being worshipped in a small corner of this remote place by these young Westerners. He saw we were doing the best we could to serve the Lord with our flowers, incense, talents, and devotion. This is Srila Prabhupada's legacy. Bhakti, devotion to God, cannot be monopolized by anyone. It was his intention to declare that boldly across the world. Another thing that stood out for me in his talk was when he mentioned how anyone who thinks of the Lord Krishna at the time of death will go to the Lord. He told a story about a disciple, Kartikeya, whose mother challenged her son on her deathbed. Where is your Krishna? Is he here now? Srila Prabhupada leaned forward to just where I was sitting. It appeared to me that he looked right in my eyes when he said, and so she went to Krishna. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita. It affected me as a moment. As a moment I will always remember, although at the time I didn't know why. Many, many years later, I was taking care of my elderly mother, who had been inimical towards the devotees for decades because she felt they had taken her young daughter away from her when I joined the movement. But in her old age, she grew dependent on me, her heart softened, and she began appreciating Krishna consciousness. A few days before she passed away, she asked me in the exact same words, but with innocent sincerity, where is your Krishna now? Will he come and help me? I assured her that he would come and help. Her last words were the Maha Mantra. While chanting with my children and their friends, I cannot forget the look Srila Prabhupada gave me when he said, and so she went to Krishna. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita. At the end of his lecture, one journalist asked, why are there only young people here? Why don't we see older people here? Srila Prabhupada answered, why are there only young people at the university? Because you cannot teach an old dog, Prabhupada said, new tricks. Most of us laughed. The next day I was supposed to receive Brahman initiation and get the Gayatri Mantra from Srila Prabhupada. I went into the room. He was sitting in a chair and very gravely said, sit down. I sat on the floor. He said, repeat. He then began to recite the first line of the Gayatri Mantra. In those days, we did not have much knowledge of Sanskrit mantras except for the few prayers we would recite regularly. I was botching up the words terribly. Again, he said, I said, repeat. Again, I messed up the words. He asked if anyone had given me a paper with the words written on them. I told him I had not received anything. He then said very kindly, "Never mind, it's all right. Nanda will give you the mantra tomorrow." Then with a wave of his hand, he dismissed me. As I was walking backwards out the door saying, "Thank you, thank you," he picked a huge flower garland off his desk. He smiled broadly and nodded for me to catch it. He then flung it across the room at me, laughing. I was overwhelmed with gratitude. "Thank you." With a wave of his hand and smile, he dismissed me, yet also accepted me as one of his Brahmin disciples. I felt he gave me more that day than just Brahmin initiation. He gave me the understanding that bhakti, devotion to Krishna, is not about the formalities and rituals. It is about our intention, our relationship with the Lord, and how we treat others. The day after Prabhupada left, we had a fire ceremony to celebrate my Brahmin initiation and one couple's marriage. There were not enough bananas to put in the fire, so I gave my banana to the new bride. After all, I had already learned that it was not about the bananas. Jai, Nagamanjari ki jai. Very well, very nice.
So, anything? BT?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're. Any other comments, questions? Amarendra,
That was very nice.
say something
Gayatri.
else?
Amarinder, perhaps you could speak a bit about Gayatri and her contribution.
That would be really appropriate.
And her cooking. I mean,
And just, her general contribution to the...
Well, the thing that the devotees will be most,
Gayatri was your wife, you should explain it.
yeah, oh yeah, that of course too. But she invented Garunga potatoes. That's right. She was the one who invented them. When we were in Dallas and we ran out of yogurt, she used sour cream and butter, and that became the standard all over the world. And her cooking was legendary. But aside from that, she was later on. She became the real TLC of the temple, because I was calm and shy, as you were mentioning this morning, and very mellow and so forth. But every now and then I'd get a little bit off the deep end and get a little heavy. And she would kind of follow behind me and repair the damage that I had done. But all the hurt feelings and all the bruised egos, she would come and just give them that, I hate to say it, but Jewish love of a Jewish mother that so many people had been lacking. And there was one girl that actually, I asked her why she joined, even though she joined here, and she said, because nobody in my life treated me with so much love and kindness as Gayatri.
Wow.
And that's the only reason she joined, is because of Gayatri.
Wow.
And when she departed a couple of years ago in LA, it was like a magnificent event. So many devotees from all over America came to see her in the hospital and just expressed their appreciation, how kind she was and how great her Garunga potatoes were. There's never been anything to rival her recipes, which were this. Some people have tried to write it down, but she never wrote anything down. It's just like whatever she motivated. But she was the real force in our temple here. She was the one that kept it together. She was the one that gave the devotees the affection that they were missing in the material world. And that personalism, was so successful and was so important, because I would just have wrecked everything if it hadn't been for her. So.
Thank you very much. So,
Well, with that, Amarendra, that was, after that, there's not much else that can be said. The last two we had were from the real force behind the founding of ISKCON Gainesville, which was Gayatri and Ananga Manjari, the real forces behind the success of it. And that's a fitting way for us to end our evening. And we thank all of you for attending. Tomorrow, those who are here physically, this is not a broadcast program, but from 3 to 7 o'clock, we're having an open house at this very facility at 224 Northeast 10th Avenue in Gainesville. You're all invited to a buffet and a tour of the BI house, and you can come and meet Hridayananda Maharaj, and we'll have our BI nerds here too to answer all your questions. We'll have books available. All of Sadhaputa's books are back in print. We'll have them available. All of Hridayananda Maharaj's books are here. They're available. And we have our library you could peruse. And of course, as I said, the most important part, the buffet. So we invite you all to come tomorrow between 3 and 7. Thank you very much. And I want to particularly thank Udi and Damodar, our technical staff, for making this broadcast successful, and Bhadra for organizing the festival, and Leela for getting it all together to make this work, and Rukmini for making this house look the way it does, because I assure you it didn't look this way yesterday, and for the dozen other devotees who are here helping to organize it. I thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
All the glory to Prabhupada. Jai. Prabhupada ki jai.